You're watching the Channel 4 News at 11.
Tonight, an exclusive hidden camera investigation. Channel 4's Anna Garcia uncovers what residents of one local community are calling their dirty little secret. It's an illegal village of squatters made up of hundreds of illegal immigrants. Anna followed the undocumented workers, and more than likely, you have the fruits of their labor in your house right now.
It is the life of a third world country. Makeshift homes tucked into the hillside, covered with plastic and trash everywhere. The people who live here bathe in the river, wash their clothes there, and the toilet is anywhere they want it to be. Where are we? In the backyard of these million-dollar homes in northern San Diego County.
This is like our dirty little secret.
Julie Adams has lived here 15 years.
This is a shanty town on the edge of my community, and it's being allowed.
This encampment of mostly undocumented Mexican workers is filled with hundreds of squatters spread over acres along jogging and bike trails. But in order to understand what really goes on in this illegal encampment, you have to go in there and you have to live there, and that's exactly what we did. We sent in 2 undercover photographers with hidden cameras wired in their shirts to live in the camp. Once deep in the canyon, our cameras captured close up just how many people live here and how filthy it is. We also saw the trappings of an established community with areas for parking and food vendors. Lots of beer drinking and the drunkenness that goes with it, as well as drug dealing and prostitution. The women are driven into the village in groups, the brothel set up in the bushes. Like with so many other communities, the vices are tempered with a little religion. On Sundays, a local church ministers in the camp. Homeless migrant workers have been illegally camping in MCGONIGLE Canyon for more than 20 years, but the buffer zone between the homeless and the homeowners has been shrinking because of development, bringing the two worlds too close for some.
You feel a threat to your safety as their concentration grows.
Watch how men pop out of the bushes through people's yards at 5 and 6 in the morning as the migrants go looking for work. As the sun rises, the men keep coming out. And in a little while, the school children will wait on the same corner for the school bus.
It's a safety issue, it's a fire issue, it's a quality of life issue to have a 300-man shanty town on the edge of our community.
Police confirm a woman was assaulted on one of the jogging paths 3 months ago.
I am not at this point able to link that in any way with this migrant camp out there.
And what about the prostitution we caught on tape?
I don't know that prostitutes are going in there, and I'd like to see any evidence or any video footage you have at that.
There's no real push to get them out.
Why?
There's big companies, I'm sure, that are employing these guys, and they're cheap labor.
It's against the law to employ undocumented workers, so we wanted to find out who was hiring them. As part of our undercover investigation, we followed them to work. For several mornings, I followed the same carload of workers to this farm, 20 minutes away. BY's Organic Heirloom Tomatoes. This worker says he's been with BY's farm 2 years and has been living in the camp the whole time. He admits he gave the employer a false address in Vista, and as far as his status, he's here illegally, he says.
Can you call the person in charge? We're from Channel 4.
Owner Bill Brammer gets on the two-way.
It's not my responsibility of where they live.
A few minutes later, the owner arrives and asks us to leave.
I don't want to be filmed.
Our surveillance of the migrants leads us to another farm, a much larger operation, Rancho Santa Fe Farms. Our undercover photographers follow the homeless migrants to work on this morning, and the foreman agrees to hire our photographers. When I show up, I ask who lives in the camp and works here. This teen says he does.
We want to talk to someone about your hiring practices and if you're hiring undocumented workers here at the farm.
Rancho Santa Fe Farms has a class action lawsuit against it claiming unfair wage practices. If the problems we've uncovered in this village seem far away from your life, you may be more connected than you realize. The tomatoes picked by these migrants living like this are sold at Whole Foods, Trader Joe's, Gelson's, and Mayfair markets.
They need to put in sanctions on employers that are hiring these guys.
Gelson's and Mayfair had no response. Whole Foods, which markets itself as a socially conscious company, says they don't comment on allegations. Trader Joe's CEO sent a letter. He expects suppliers to abide by the law, but the living conditions we uncovered are, quote, outside the scope of our influence. The homeless migrants don't just work on farms. Our cameras captured them working as gardeners and day laborers.
I've complained to the police department. I've complained to the mayor.
The political powers don't have a backbone to actually do what the people want.
It's almost as if the city's looking the other way.
No, I don't want to say we're looking the other way. I think what we're doing is looking this in a very humane fashion.
The police say there's little they can do because they are squatting on private property, and they admit they want to keep the migrants contained.
I'm not looking to rush right into that canyon and move them up onto the surface streets in the city of San Diego. We're just going to create a larger homeless population than we already have.
And so, before the sun even rises tomorrow on McGonigle Canyon, the migrants will begin popping out from behind the bushes of these suburban homes, ready to start a new day working in the Southern California economy. Anna Garcia, Channel 4 News.
Now, the police tell us the migrants are on land owned by two large developers, Pardee Homes and D.R. Horton. Pardee says they regularly patrol their property and they remove the trespassers. D.R. Horton didn't respond at all. Both companies declined to be interviewed for us on the story on camera. Tonight, a woman...
Follow-up now to a story we first brought you last week about a place called The Village. It's an illegal migrant camp in northern San Diego County. For weeks, the group called the Minutemen have been threatening to shut it down. Today came the long-anticipated confrontation. Well, the reason Anna Garcia is not here is because she is in San Diego with that story. Anna?
Kelly, the complex issue of immigration came to a head in San Diego today, where some frustrated homeowners joined forces with some Minutemen. Waiting for them were the defenders of the migrants, and in the middle of all of this, trying to keep the peace, were the police officers.
Follow the illegal alien trash.
A few dozen homeowners and Minutemen went into McGonigle Canyon in northern San Diego County today to pick up trash and push for the elimination of a makeshift village of migrant squatters.
We picked up beer cans, we picked up beer bottles, and we loaded up I don't know how many bags of trash.
Last week, in an undercover investigation, we exposed how these undocumented workers, mostly from Mexico, are living in deplorable conditions without sanitation. The illegal immigrants work on nearby farms but can't afford housing, so they squat here. Development has brought the homeowners and the homeless closer than ever.
I'm not saying all these guys are bad, but this situation is bad. This should not be allowed.
I would like to see a decent home for these hard-working people.
Police stood watch as the Minutemen hiked in.
We had asked the Minutemen representatives to just remove trash and
no personal property.
No personal property.
But they did collect a pile of bicycles, most likely used by the migrants to get to work.
I think the stupid gringo's going to put up with this.
When you do a report about a community, you have to interview that people.
Are you talking about legally people who come here to this country legally?
I'm talking about human beings.
And you say I'm a Minuteman. I'm not. I live in this community.
While tempers flared on both sides, the disagreements were expressed verbally and not physically.
I have a question.
So during the cleanup, some of the 300 migrants who live there were nowhere to be seen today, but many, of course, do work during the day. Each side says that they made their point today. Each side says that they want the migrants to have a decent place to live. But the reality tonight is that many of them will be returning to their shacks. Reporting live from San Diego, Anna Garcia, Channel 4 News.
This is the Channel 4 News at 11.
You're despicable. You're disgusting.
And where did your great-grandparents come from? What country?
Confrontation over a controversial migrant camp. But tonight, the migrants at the center of the storm have moved on. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for having us in. I'm Pernell Chapman. Kim Baldonado has the evening off. Tonight, some San Diego homeowners and the anti-illegal immigrant group, the Minutemen, squared off over an encampment of migrant workers. Homeowners don't want the camp in their backyards, but many also don't want the Minutemen. Channel 4's Anna Garcia, who broke the story, was at the encampment in northern San Diego County. Tonight, she reports from a place known as The Village.
Not just here in this canyon, but this
The 300 or so undocumented immigrants who have been living in McGonigle Canyon in northern San Diego County were replaced today by an equal amount of angry homeowners and Minutemen rallying to tear down the homeless encampment.
The police and the property owners are now going to do something about this.
There's not anyone in that canyon right now. There's no migrant workers. There's nobody in that canyon sleeping. or planning to sleep there this evening.
And they were sleeping in deplorable conditions, as our undercover investigation exposed last week. No sanitation, people washing clothes and bathing in the river. Plus, we found some drug dealing and prostitution. Most of the undocumented immigrants work in local fields picking tomatoes sold at Whole Foods, Trader Joe's, Gelson's, and Mayfair markets. The migrants say they can't afford to pay rent.
They're the only ones that will work for whatever they are asked to work for. No one wants to give them wages that other people won't work for.
And tonight they will do it somewhere else, because a local church and activists for the migrants relocated all the homeless before the Minutemen arrived. This man is headed north to Santa Maria after being asked to leave by police.
They park on our streets and they leave litter and garbage, and it's just, we have our home for sale right now and we're very concerned.
While many homeowners were frustrated by what they call a shantytown, some say the Minutemen are the problem.
Most of these people who are coming here today do not live here. They're disturbing my neighborhood. They're promoting racism.
This man says he was assaulted while videotaping workers at a day laborer site.
Then I got attacked from behind by one of them. They tried to steal my camera. They tried to steal my cell phone.
While the protest was peaceful, it did heat up when the founder of the Minutemen, Jim Gilchrist, arrived.
You're despicable. You're disgusting.
And where did your grandparents come from? What country?
What does that matter?
And what kind of conditions do they live in? They live in conditions just about like this.
You can't stand the truth.
This is the truth about all of our.
You can't handle the truth.
This is the truth about all of our.
So tonight, some homeowners are claiming victory, and the homeless who used to live in this camp may still be homeless, just homeless somewhere else. In McGonigle Canyon, Anna Garcia, Channel 4 News.
The owner of that property, by the way, has now banned anyone, including both the migrants and Minutemen, from camping in that location.